this session, we are featuring a series of urban farmers who are going to talk to us about their experience. And this session is going to be led by the GBI Youth Fellow Program. So,
Hello everyone, my name is DJ. I'm a part of the Negotiations Youth Fellowship Program. GBI is a nonprofit organization that focuses on food insecurity. Our goal is to educate others about food and help Bridgeport thrive by helping provide access to healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables to encourage a healthy lifestyle. Our fellowship program is currently working on a project about foodies. We're going to different locations to rescue food from being thrown out. All of the food we collect goes to food pantries or community fridges such as Bridgeport.
We have a community farmer reservoir ad where the farmers make the farmers market every Saturday during the summer, which is around late June to October. During the summer, we use farm as an educational hub to hold workshops, cooking demos, yoga, and herbalism activities like making fire cider. We also host field trips for schools to teach about agricultural plants and the environment.
We also have 12 other community garden spaces around Bridgeport where people can go and get food for free. And we provide them with all the sources for the new to sustainable gardens. This program also has an urban farmer trying to qualify around campaign until October, which is accepting applications if you are interested to learn more.
We will start by introducing the panelists, followed by letting them tell you more about their work in agriculture. From here, we'll answer some questions that we have for the panelists, and then we'll open the floor for the audience to ask questions as well. On the panel, we have Elisha Rothenberg from Garden of Sister Lounge. Mario Puna and Kadisha Mohammed from Blissful Awakening. Richard Myers and Sean Josephs from Park City Harvest. And Alexandria Almeida of Biodynamic Farming.
Farmer Rich, horticulturist, Park City Harvest. We have farm out here in Bridgeport. Our aim is to change the image of farming, also farming for financial freedom. Also have a nonprofit called North Star Cover Foundation, which is to educate, promote, and fund farmers.
Farmer Alicia. I'm more of a guerrilla farmer. Like I'll farm wherever I get the opportunity to each year. Like pick a spot and stick to it. But my goal is to change the literal image of Bridgeport. Like just drop seeds everywhere. What I can to, convert this from wasting. But yeah, I grew up in Garden of Sister Love on the west end, and at my mother's house. Yeah, everyone else. Get the opportunity.
okay, Tony, have a seat.
I'm Farmer Sean, the other half of Park City Harvest, horticulturist, all-around farm hustler. So we grow a lot of different herbs and vegetables that we use for different products that we make. And we also have our own clothing that Alicia actually organically dyes for us. And we recently wrote a book, as some of you guys may know as well.
My name is Khadijah Muhammad. I'm from Blissful Awakening LLC. I'm a farmer, but I have a lot of other things that I do and stuff. So I'm into herbalism, spirituality, Reiki meditation, yoga, all those good things. So my company is basically, to me, it's a spiritually based company. So like when I deal with the land and stuff, is spiritual to me, to be with the land and stuff, and it's, I don't know, yeah. So that's what Blissful is all about, just a spiritual based company, learning and growing in all different types of aspects of nature, because we're nature too. So that's one. My other half, Mario.
Good morning, everybody. the other half of Blissful Awakening LLC. My name is Mario Pena. Urban agriculturist, earth worker, earth stewardship that we do on the land. We grow organic vegetables that are in season, herbs and small fruits. Our farm is an example of a good commitment to actually putting in the time and energy that you see things with involvement with time will get better. So we're in our 4th or 5th season of growing this year, and we have been practicing regenerative organic agricultural practices. So we can see the fruits of that coming in here. We band the different farmers markets, and we're also available for spiritual advice from the Queen here, but also that we love to provide high dense nutrient food for the community that sometimes due to our financial status or where we live or the stigma that we have with farming with the BIPOC community, which stands for Black people of color, have been marginalized with farming and agriculture for a long time. So my motivation is definitely stemming from Park City Harvest, that when we met them years ago, that they wanted to change the image of farming, and you can see it definitely has. So that's why we're here. It's wonderful everyone came, and we'll continue to come.
I am Alexandria. I'm so glad I actually went at the end because I feel like each of you really highlighted some pieces that I'm super passionate about as a farmer. I'm really, I would say, humbled to be here because I am not in affiliation with an organization, and it's such a pleasure to be asked to be here to represent what farming means to me. And so I consider myself a student of farming. I'm very passionate about biodynamic farming, which is spiritual, which is focusing on healing the earth, which is about representing the communities that you live in. And so with that, I found farming a few years ago, even though it's been in my bloodline, been in my ancestors for a really long time, but my goal through farming is always evolving, but at its core is going on this journey for myself to really figure out what I'm supposed to be doing here and what's gonna excite me. And as an adult learner, farming was the first thing that actually kept me excited to keep learning more. And I think everybody can relate to that. And so, just really happy to be here to represent myself and my journey through biodynamic farming. Woo.
Now we're gonna ask the questions, and with a timer of 90 seconds for each question. So, what got you interested in farming, or was there a specific moment that pushed you towards it?
Thing that got me interested in farming was my grandmother. My grandmother always had me out in the yard with her. She told me to put the shovel here, and then magically stuff would come from there. So I wanted to become a magician of the land as well. My last name is Myers, which literally means farming, which means farmer and stewardess of the land. So I think I was molded to be a farmer. But what especially got me into it was I got fired from a job, and I was like, I'll never want to get fired again. So I created a job, which was farming, and I created my own.
Personally, I got into farming, well, not necessarily farming, but I was into plants from being a child. Like, every time it was a science fair, I was good at school, I didn't like it though, so just throw something in a jar, look at the roots, like, look at my board. And so I did that, my whole school career. And then in my senior year of high school, school canceled, the pandemic occurred. So I was in the crib. It wasn't necessarily a savory experience. It wasn't very fun at all. And I started to feel really sick and just terrible. I used to just stand on the balcony for hours, every day, just sun on me, feeling much better. And then I just started going outside all the time, regardless of what I had heard. And then I went to the pawn shop, which was right around the corner from me, and they sold seeds for $1 a pack. I just bought up all the seeds I could get, dug a bunch of dirt from the backyard, put it on the balcony, and just started growing mad food. So then I was like, damn, this is incredible.
And further down the block, deeper into what we would consider the trenches, like there's like a big empty garden, I remember they put it down. It was like a collaboration between Stop and Shop and our mayor at the time to build a community garden, build a playground, but without the support of education or like, you know, community engagement, it just kind of went to ruin. So I had the time, did not have a job, couldn't go to school, so I just dedicated all my time to that space, and we had a massive yield, and then I was like, I'm gonna do this forever. And I can't mention myself getting into farming without mentioning the market at GBI. I used to go all the time, and then I would see Sean and Rich, and I would see Blissful Awakening, and be like, there's something to this, like, you know, I don't have to just, you know, continue on the path I'm going if I don't want to do it. Like, just keep going to school if I don't like it. Like, just do what's calling you. That's all I like to tell you.
Well, I got into farming, similar to both Rich and Alicia. I've just been playing around with plants since I was like 7, 8 years old. And it was just something about, so like Rich was saying, it's like the magic of it. We cleared off a patch of grass, I put some seeds down, and over a matter of time, I saw that seed produce actual food. And I just never wanted to stop doing that. And I was just always interested in different growing techniques and practices, and just being as weird as I could with trying to grow plants, and never stopped from there. What got me into actually farming as a business is, again, what Alicia said. It was to be an example for the youth from our community that there's different avenues and different pathways that they can go down. I talk to or deal with a lot of youth, and school or traditional academic school is not their thing, but there's always different interests that they have that they don't feel could be an outlet for them. So it's changing the image of farming and showing them that there's different ways to do things is definitely something I hold dear to my heart and is very important.
For me, self-sustainability is really important. I have 3 kids, they're adults now, so, but I'm 21, 24, 26 almost, something like that. But anyway, so, but self-sustainability, like struggling here in Bridgeport, I came from Norwalk over 20-something years ago, and then I struggled as a single mother here in Bridgeport, so self-sustainability was important to me. Getting it, and I love the earth anyway. When I was younger, we had a house, and I used to try to plant things in the yard and stuff, and I always liked the worms, the animals, and the grass. I just like being outside, you know, so, like, I think we had a hibiscus tree, like, in front of the yard, so I think that's why I'm so attracted to hibiscus now, in the front yard, too, as well, and the bees, and so, it's in me. And then, like, my parents were, my father, they were farming, they were sharecroppers, his family and stuff like that, so like you know, and I went there like in the 80s and stuff when I was young, when it was just like, you poop on the pot, well, for the little kid, because I didn't have to go out to the outhouse, but, so I remember like the chickens, and they're growing their own food and stuff, so, you know, it's in my blood, you know, and so that spiritual aspect of it in different ways and stuff. So just self-sustainability, taking care of yourself, having control over what you eat, control over your life, you know what I'm saying? And so through spirituality and stuff, I've had my moments and stuff, but you know, yeah, like this is what I'm here for. This is part of my purpose, and just to help other people learn and grow and stuff through their, you know, mistakes, whatever, and stuff like that. We're learning and growing and stuff, so we have to be kind to ourselves and be forgiving to ourselves with this land, with ourselves and stuff. I've grown a lot in the past few years, and I know, like, you know, you have to change yourself to change the world. I remember Marisa asked me, how do I change? I'm like, you have to change you. It took me a long time to get some work on myself, but like, you know, but I'm getting there and stuff, and like, so yeah, self-sustainability. having control over yourself.
Well, how I got into agriculture was, well, I've been plant-based for about 23 years, but I never really considered growing food. I was always kind of outsourced it, I was in different career fields. And one day my partner was like, yo, there's a class. And I'm like, yeah. I was in between careers, so I was like, yeah, sometime. She was like, they have this urban agriculture. I said, are they gonna show you how to grow food? She was like, yeah, something like that. I was like, all right, I'll come. So I was like, oh, boy, I love to read, but sometimes you're like, oh, another educational experience. At the time, I was like, oh, here we go, right? It's a commitment, right? So I went and sat down. Ellie was there, we're talking, teacher. They're like, yeah, you could, make this into a business. I was like, business? I'm like, all right, let me stay. So I stayed, no, seriously, I stayed, but then there was something that was really important that was said. And I still remember Ellie saying it. It was like, yo, this food scarce food desert. I was like, I know about those things. I don't know the term, but I know that our people lack food, nutrient food, especially when you go to a local, low financial income status community, as they label it, right? And you go into the store and you don't see what other affluent neighborhoods have, and that is not good. So for me, the constant to push healthier diets to folks along my life, my travels, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn this. Plus, I love science in school. So if you went to school and you're like, what's this botany, what's this chemistry? It all comes to play in the end. Maybe it's not sophisticated as they taught you, but the basic elements of what it is to learn to work with soil and different types of, nutrients and, the photosynthesis, they hit you off in 5th grade, you're like, what's that? But then it really doesn't apply, right? Chlorophyll and everything. So I stayed in the class, did really good, I was motivated. I remember the first time in the class, we went out from the urban ag and we were out farmer vending. And I was like, wow, this is it then. So then from there, then we went Park City Harvest and everything just started to put together. So time takes time and then things take time, right? But if you're patient, like you said, and you grow, and you feel like the need to actually help out, so if you ever wanted to help out and you just don't know how to, a good way is to start this way. We're always in need. There's one thing that Ellie said that, we're needed 3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snack, brunch, whatever you fit in. So we play a very important part in the whole world community. So we're just a small microcosm of the agricultural world. But when we all do a little bit of our part, it's gonna get bigger. So that's why I got into agriculture.
I guess there's like a bunch of different moments, and I will spare you with the little seeds that are dropped on agriculture for me. But I guess like a deep dissatisfaction with the quality of things. And I feel like you get it. Just going to grocery stores and being dissatisfied, going to restaurants and being dissatisfied, going to family meals where there are really delicious recipes that come from our cultures, but like the quality sucks, excuse my language. So the specific moment was realizing that like I can't change everything, but that was something that I was good at. It was interesting. I didn't have all the answers. It taught me that I had to be quiet and humble myself when I didn't have the answers. But that specific moment of realizing I'm dissatisfied with the quality and the state of food and how food is purchased and found and distributed, this is how I can make an impact.
What kind of crops do you guys grow?
Culturally appropriate crops. When I say that, also, I can say it's one other half of it, but I grow like callaloo, which is common in my culture, which is Jamaican culture. We grow a lot of collard greens. In our background, you can't have enough collard greens.
It's true.
Turnip greens, a lot of hot peppers. I'm an island baby once again, so I love myself hot. I grow stuff that I like, and I hope that people like it as well. If you don't like it, I'll have more. But you know what I mean? If you do like it, it'll sell.
Me personally, I grow whatever I can get my hands on. Literally, like, every free seeds, I'm there, and that's what I'm growing.
Yeah, she'll come and be like, what's this
Stop, literally.
It looks good. It's
Literally,
a
like,
full melon, that's good.
yeah, exactly. Even if it doesn't have a name or it's just a little bag of seeds, I would grow that. Yeah, so like Alex was saying, it's just it's a great field to be in because you're always learning. Things are just springing up, like doing anything. It's like little kids, but like they don't speak to you with their mouth. It's just awesome. So I just be like, yeah, whatever you want. Like I'm about to see what's to you. Like, but this year specifically, yeah, I'm gonna adopt you and see how you work. But this year specifically, I'm growing all herbs, all medicine. Like I'm trying to see what's to that.
Well, Rich already covered, we grow cultural appropriate foods. One thing he didn't cover was, I said, we make products from some of the stuff we grow. So we grow, like cabbage, carrots, and peppers. So from my Haitian background, we make something that's called pickles. That's a spicy pickled cabbage. We also do a lot of different, herbal remedies and medicines. So we have different tea blends and stuff like that we have. So we have one, that's called, from Jamaica, it's called fever grass or lemongrass. So we have that, and then as well as herbal blend with just different mint and stuff like that. So we always like to try something new. Like this year, we're trying to get into a kiwi berry project to grow kiwi berries. They're pretty much like mini kiwis where you can eat the whole skin and everything like that. So it's always, like I said, I always like doing something different or something new or as exotic as possible.
I love, like, I took a course a while back, like gourmet chef, like gourmet cooking. So I love gourmet cooking. So that encompasses a lot of herbs, and then hence my herbalism, like learning about herbalism, and I do tea blends too as well. And one of my mainstays is hibiscus. So this year I'm gonna try my hand at growing hibiscus because it's to my heart, like especially knowing that it was most likely a hibiscus tree in my house when I grew up when I was young, with all the bees just swarming around. So, but yeah, I have herbs everywhere, even in the house right now. And so we grow air purification plants as well. So like I have a lot of those all around the house too. But if you come in my house, it's like people are like, it smells different in here. Like the energy is different. But there's plants everywhere, and I just love herbs. And so with her, like medicine, making different medicines and things of that nature. I'm drinking herbs every day, so I'm one with the herbs. And everything else, I'll grow anything. Like I like to have fun, like they said, like just sometimes just trying stuff. We love it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Citrus trees, all of that.
Right.
So, what I really enjoy growing is flowers, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, flowers are
Flowers,
fine.
yeah,
Those
when
are
I,
my thing.
through education and, through, agricultural research and stuff, you're like, oh, wow, you can't eat flowers. I was like, sure you can. Wow, that's cool. So that was my thing. So that's my thing. So we like to grow a lot of flowers. We like to have, like, if those are not aware, can do it. But we actually have a nice pollinator section. We call it the pollinator pathway on our farm in the front. But we attract all the beneficial insects. So we love to grow a lot of flowers, pet flowers too. But a lot of the flowers basically are used for our integrated pest management. On our farm, we have a 1/4 acre and we're close to a school. Even if we weren't close to a school, we don't use toxic pesticides or anything like that. We don't want that to get into the soil or the food. So flowers are very, very important in our farm, and it's just our way of life. And throughout the season, you'll see us with a lot of garments with flowers, so it's so that's why. Flowers. Thanks.
So currently I'm focused on growing garlics, and I say that specifically because it is something that we spend a lot of money in my household, and we eat it a lot, so like just a factor of selfishly what's gonna be good in cutting the cost for food in my family, and it's easy being in Connecticut. I'm not adventurous with my growing right now, and the reason for that is I'm really honed in on observing and understanding couple of plants and getting really good at that. That's important to me because that correlates to pest management and being really able to understand there's an issue coming up in my plant. I want to deposit. Another type of plant that I like to grow is similarly to integrated pest management, crops that are going to be beneficial to the soil. So if you're growing things that are going to be very taking, like a tomato takes a lot when you're growing it, something that's going to give back to the soil. So flowers is a great way for that. I love the idea of herbs that we think of as bad, like dandelions, that are really beneficial for adding goodness back to your soil. Very passionate about herbs that also can feed the soil and be consumed. So chamomile is something that I'm really passionate about growing. But it's this combination of what's going to heal the soil and what's going to be cost effective to me to grow. I love the idea of exotic, fun things, and I want to get there one day. But just super passionate about making sure I'm not taking, also giving when I'm making my crop selections.
Really quick question. Do you cultivate dandelions?
Yeah, you can. So I know somebody that does, and I've started to do it. And that's, I don't want to take up a ton of time, but like being mindful of your space. So like, I'm sure all of us are herbalists, we love to grow herbs, but like also making sure you don't end up with like rows of herbs now. So like being really mindful of like, wow, now I have a calendula farm because I grew a couple calendulas, or I have a peppermint farm because I love that peppermint. So it's this balance again of understanding the space and not biting off more than my land can chew. Not even just me, the land. Yeah.
What types of soil do you guys use?
What do you mean, I'm sorry? I'm sorry, miss. So, we at our farm, we're doing it directly in the ground, so it's nothing fancy. How about you?
Me? I like to I like making like soil cocktails. Like I just like to just mix everything up. I know different root systems require different kinds of support or different kinds of mixtures. So I got like I've been putting anything in my soil. Not anything. Like I'll burn it. But I like to make my own soil. So like I'll burn like wood and use the ashes. I'll use compost or boil the compost and use the tea and pour it all up in there. Or in the fall, I'll do what they call lasagna layering. So that's, you know, wood chips, cardboard, soil, wood chips, cardboard, soil. By the time you're in the spring, everything's decomposed and you got a good like rich like soil. So yeah, rich fluffy soil. So I like to do things like that. Currently, I got for my indoor plants, which I started for this upcoming season, they're growing in on a little shelf with a single light, but they're doing well. I mixed just some random like, I had a brick of cocoa coir, which is like coconut shavings in brick form. They you put it in water, it just absorbs all the water, so that's good addition to use. Something to absorb water. But I have that. I use that. I got clay. I visited Virginia last month, and I just took a whole bunch of clay in jars back with me, so I'm using that clay. I use random topsoil. I use I forgot the name of that. The little white ball.
Perlite.
Perlite. I put perlite in that mixture, and a little sand if I can find it. But really, just anything I know. Like I'll look up like what has a lot of nitrogen that's from outside. Like, and then I'll take that. Like I'll go to Seaside, take seaweed, put that, dry it out, put it on compost or whatever. Like I use anything I know is gonna be good for it.
I'll advise to look up what crop you're using and whatever that crop needs for the soil, that's what you'll amend the soil for. You know, but certain crops are going to need different amendments, and some may need it soil, some may need it sandy, some may need it more loamy, things of that nature.
Well, Rich said it all. But with the soil that we use, we do plant in ground. We have worm compost, so we actually have a worm bin that breaks down any food or field waste that we have, so any type of weeds or anything like that. So So we use vermicompost, and we also have a few compost tumblers, so we'll make our own compost as well. And we'll just add different types of compost, or we'll layer, like Alicia said, with either leaves or wood chips in the fall. And as they break down over the winter season, then the soil itself will be rich. And then we also add, whether it's wood chips or boric acid, that also helps as well when you're growing things like beets or anything like that. So it adds additional boron into the soil. So it's depends on what you're growing. So you would just, and also based off of the soil test, what your soil may or may not need throughout the season of different thing that you have.
For me, like I do a lot of composting in the backyard, so like that would help amend my soil. So I'm always like cooking with vegetables and fruits and stuff, so I always have plenty of stuff, and I'm shopping all the time, so I have plenty of browns to have fresh, everything, like, so like I could just, I could sell my compost. Like I got so much stuff going out every day, but yeah, so like that's a good thing to amend your soil with, and like everything that they said, like I mean it depends on what you're growing and stuff, because everything doesn't have the same, doesn't need the same stuff. And I'm gonna be real layman's terms. And then yeah, I'll just pass the baton over to Mona.
Yeah, we mostly use like organic practices, so, our farm is regenerative, so composting is very important. We have a 3-bin system, which is not managed as well right now. It will be. We're very honest. We're very honest, but yeah, that's what we use. We use what we have on the land, so we're very good at that. So a lot of things that people think are invasive and not, visually aesthetic, right? It's medicine. It's real. You need it, So if you work with nature, she'll work with you. So that's a symbiotic relationship that we have.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of red clover, things
Yeah,
like that.
we have a
that
lot
will
of,
help.
we call them volunteers. So
Yeah,
every year we have a
volunteer.
volunteer. So it's like, oh, look at that volunteer. So what that does is reduces the waste. And then you're in more of a perspective of how you're really making your land really accessible to what's really unique. But like all the brothers and sisters here said, different crops need different things. The pH is different, some need more acidic, alkaline. Some things you grow, they say poor soil. We're running to those. We grow flowers like that really doesn't need that much NPK.
And certain herbs don't need.
Yeah, they don't
They
really,
don't need
they really just do what they do with mother and the time of the season. So we do a lot of, we practice a lot of organic regenerative methods, and that's how we were able to sustain the farm and it's still growing. And that's how we're able to do it. So I encourage those practices as well. Thank you.
What are the benefits of farming?
The benefits to farming, have you been to the grocery store lately?
You got some more comments.
You go there, get one of the cucumbers, you slice it open, are you cucumber anymore? The watermelon don't look the same anymore. I would say there's a lot of benefits to growing your own food, that's my main beneficial to it. So you get to grow for yourself, you get to grow for your community, and you get to grow stuff for your pockets as well.
That's right. The question's coming,
If I could just add, for me, it's community, like, kind of being adult philosophical. The older you get, it's harder to make friends and make connections and like really have deep, meaningful conversations if that's what you're looking for. So for me, farming enables that, and it's so cool to be able to be in community with people who are passionate about that. So like farming for me is also important because it helps me kind of seek out who are the other growers and earth keepers out there. So it's a nice community build with it.
I'm such an introvert, and I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, but one quick comment, farming for us is a very healing situation. A lot of us have come from a lot of historical trauma, emotionally, physically. So the farm is a sanctuary, for us, that we go there, if anybody's into grounding, check it out, earthing, right? Everybody raise their hand. Yeah, I've been doing it. So, so those are the things that we, utilize nature for, and then also
He's like, oh, you wanna put shoes on? No, I wanna step in the wet mud. I'm a child.
Me too.
Like, I'm such a child. I am such a baby. So like, I need to feel the soil. I need to feel the wet, damn soil on my feet. And he's just like, oh, like, but I love it. I love getting my hands dirty. I like the soil in my, you know, in my nose. And then you go out, and then, oh wait, you need to wash your hands. So what? I don't care. People can see the dirt in my hands. Like, it's a beautiful thing, like getting dirty and stuff, and yeah, I love it. I love the soil.
This is our realm. Like, it's only natural to put your efforts forth to be able to master it and to understand like what all these things are for. Like everybody's saying that, oh, it's therapeutic. Like you putting your hands in the soil, it's necessary. Like we are going to return to the soil eventually if you're not boarded up in a plastic coffin. But you're going to return to the soil no matter what. So being able to cultivate it, you're touching just generations and generations of things that have been alive beforehand, and then you're being able to cultivate it and then eat from it. Like it brings you to a place where you can actualize what your purpose is in this realm. Like you're not confused anymore. Like I felt like I was so confused before I got in the soil. Like my job now, I'm indoor farming. Like I can't wait to get into the soil because I'm sick of indoor, bro. Like I can't. I'm sick of the indoors. Like it's sickening sometimes. Like our society has kind of been progressing backwards a little, like confining us to places and capitalism driving everybody to like have to live in a way that is unnatural, unsupportive to anyone's growth spiritually, mentally, or physically. And in order to do that, you have to get back to like what makes sense to your body. And I think farming makes the most sense. Like you're literally being able to, you know, figure out the land. It's like a big game, like big puzzle. You got all these things. It's like what's for what, like, and then you figure that out. Everything clicks, and you're able to heal yourself and feed yourself. Like it's just amazing. It's the most important thing here. Now we're gonna give the audience some time to ask some questions.
Sure. Feel free. We got flower question. Marigolds.
Yes.
That takes over our
Marigolds.
marigolds, calendula, red
Zinnias.
clover, holy basil, so spiritual.
I heard something about acid. You can use acid in farming.
Oh, he said boric acid.
No, it's boric acid. So it's a type of powder that you can use. It's not actually acid itself, but it acts similar, or it derives from boron. So certain root vegetables that they would need to actually make them a little bit bigger. Those are the nutrients that they seek out. That's not always readily available in the soil. So it's like an organic alternative that you can use.
Yeah, so micronutrient that typically all root vegetables and beets tend to like. If your beets come out like this, it's mainly because it's lacking boron. So adding that to it will have your beets be.
I got a question about that too. So does that support like, you know, plants that are not necessarily root vegetables but they have like a big root, like?
Yeah.
Okay. So all big roots are looking for boron?
Typically, that's the main thing that they need from the soil in order for it to get to the soil.
Have anybody can answer this one? Oh, sorry. How do you guys keep pests away, like groundhogs and squirrels? Like, how do you
For groundhogs, what we found works best for groundhogs, well, what we've got lucky enough with groundhogs is a fence and also a dog. So a dog's actually taken a few of them out. And then if, I know it's not a very popular choice, but if you do any type of research on it, anybody and everybody would tell you .32 or a .22 caliber bullet.
It's illegal to kill them, what you would do is get right, you get a cage, and you wanna go at least 40 miles out and try to drop it off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's
like
cool
that.
too.
Yeah.
So, but there's no like flowers or anything that are.
Oh, no, they wouldn't eat them flowers.
No,
They're gonna eat the
They're
flowers.
gonna eat everything.
There's nothing.
But yeah, but,
They don't like strong scented herbs, so strong scented herbs, you can put that around the border, that'll probably help, but you're gonna get right through that.
You can go under. But they don't climb the fence? Is that like you keep the fence?
no, they won't climb the fence, and
Don't dig
also
under
we
it.
use a gear netting fence,
Oh.
so it's actual net, so when we have it, once the net actually hits the floor, we flare it outwards from the field. So that way it creates maybe like a 1 to 2 foot like border, so that way they won't actually try to dig underneath it as well. And they also have, like catch and release traps that you can use as well, so they have different cage traps that you can bait the traps with and catch them. But groundhogs, they tend to have like large packs or large families, so even if you are using the live traps, you're gonna have to consistently use it. And they do travel, they will travel, and remember, roughly about like 20 miles away, so when we do catch them, you do have to drive pretty far to relocate them as well. So they're an extreme nuisance, but a lot of the most humane ways would be between a fence and a dog as well. And they do sell different agriculture stores and like Home Depot stores like that. They do sell like coyote or wolf urine that you can use as well. So that way it mimics a large predator in the area. So hopefully that'll sometimes that will scare them away out of that and stuff like that.
So since all of you been in farmers markets, what vegetable do you think that we need to dramatically increase production in Connecticut, and why?
Oh, I would say carrots. I found like when I was doing the markets and stuff, I had a lot of beautiful sweet carrots. Anyway, not story time, but anyway, so like, but like I was getting a lot of compliments and people were coming like, oh my God, I love your carrots. You don't have more carrots. And I didn't even think carrots was a big deal like that, but like it's showing like, I mean, that's just my little sample thing. But I'm just saying like a lot of people last year for me was carrots are so good. So the crops that I'm gonna plant a lot of this year are carrots. So I'm gonna have plenty of carrots. So I can have carrots, and a lot of people are juicing now too. And so they're using carrots for juice, but as well as carrots are really nutrient dense. And so they're really good for you in a lot of different ways. So yeah, like, I don't even know what the question was, but yeah.
I could say like the biggest threat that I've noticed personally, I would say is cucumbers. Like you can never have enough cucumbers. People come and like give me all of your cucumbers.
Yeah, another good practice that if you see historically here in Connecticut with this agriculture, it's actually been an agricultural state, for many years until, it's kind of the introduction and decline of the Industrial Revolution, like all the factories they had here in Bridgeport that left in the 70s. But before that, believe it or not, a lot of people out here planted onion, potato. So we get back to them staple type things, right? We start seeing some things. People who are culinary artists or just a general person who actually prepares their meal, they need something like that. So that's a basic essential to cook.
Onions,
So those are the things that we
potatoes,
can use.
carrots, herbs, like, cause you can make bases for soups and all types of culinary delights.
So I would say, on my table, be onion and allium. We said, but that's a scientific, something in that family. The bulb is preferred, but then, there's chive, scallion, leeks, which are very good too.
So, my experience comes from working with community support agriculture, so essentially buying boxes of produce. And I've had the pleasure in the last several months to be able to connect and work with people in co-op situations. Dream goal, would love to see that in spaces in Connecticut, because we are small, but I really feel like a staple like beans and legumes is something that I think through educating people, it's a staple crop. It's so beneficial to your soil, and feeding it back. You can use it as a cover crop and cut it back, and you can feed the soil and build actual, height if you're trying to amplify your soil height. And so many cultures eat it Like, it's just, I think sometimes we forget about the legume family and the grain family because we just see it in the store. It's very readily accessible, but I would love to see that. I think people would be really into that. This one, my last one would be a labor of love. It's not something I think a lot of farmers, I personally struggle with trying to grow, like wheats and grains, because it's a huge labor post after you've harvested it. It's not, okay, I'm harvesting, I'm going into the store. If you were to like try to sell stalks of grains to people, they'd be like, what the heck is this? However, I think the way that we're going as a society and having a lot of farmers who are interested in educating people, collectively, I would go with grains. It's such a cost-effective thing. You grind up grain or you get a buddy to do it for you. And now you've gotten your breads. You've gotten so many things that you don't have to rely on a big corporation grocery store. So, beans or grains.
Yeah, and that's super nutrient dense. You can't live like, like you could live off of that if you didn't have anything else.
And I think we forget about that sometimes. You know, I grew up where we had rice every week and pastas, like that was the affordable thing to do. And now, you know, being an independent person, living on my own, but also living in 2023 where I could go get papayas, I could go get all these things so accessible. I think sometimes we forget a little bit of our privilege in being able to have that and remembering like a bowl of rice, a bowl of beans, a bowl of grains, like that fed communities, and it's so cost effective. And so yeah. I think if we explored that a little bit more, we'd also see healthier soils.
I agree with that. And not to mention with the peas, that's not necessarily easy to harvest either, but it's easy to get a lot more because you can have height to that, you can trellis them up, and then you can, you know, with less growing space, you can get it.
And they're edible in every state of the plant, from the actual bean sprout to when you're harvesting the bean or even the grains themselves. So.
Someone from the chat asked, what's the best time of the day to water the garden?
Oh, before the sun comes out, like early in the morning or after the sun goes down. So like you don't want to water with the sun out because you'll burn your plants. So like if you water and, you know, basically you're asking for trouble, like those times. So when the sun is like barely before the sun is rising, like it could be like kind of light, but like, and then like at nighttime you want to do it when the sun is going down.
So
That's optimal times.
yeah, so it brings you a level of like, you know, out of the norm. Sometimes you have to wake up earlier and wait for that sun to go down later. So, you know, there's all this beneficial. But yeah, those are the best times. Because if not, the water's evaporated and you just come into all different complications after a while.
And being careful not to, sometimes certain things, it's you gotta be careful about overhead watering and stuff like that too. So that can cause a lot of problems as well.
Thank you. What advice would you give to someone that wants to start their own composting at home?
I mean, like, find a section in your yard. I mean, I'm really like, should we say like guerrilla about it or something like that or whatever. I just got a corner where I just throw like all my stuff that I make, fruits, vegetables, like everything, like in a corner, and then I take brown stuff, so paper bags or whatever, leaves, sticks, and I just keep adding on to it and adding on to it and adding on to it. So like if your compost smells or something, then that means that you don't have no what brown stuff, right? Yeah, garbage. So like, but yeah, I just kind of like just use a corner. But I have also a compost bin though. I have a stand-up compost bin on a so, and like when it does what it does, when it's finished or whatever, there's an opening where you could actually just grab out the stuff. And then plus if you have the compost bin up higher, like you'll get like like basically like liquid that you could also use to fertilize and amend your soil too as well. So you could just get a compost bin and then you could just stir it and stuff like that. So, but sometimes if you just do layering too as well, like you're fine. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to stir or anything like that. And then also my sister, she's a nurse in Vermont, but she has a compost business. So they kind of like, yeah, like, so they collect compost and then they build their own soil for their they're grown.
I would,
So they make money from it.
yeah, like you were saying, I would definitely recommend the bin, just because if you don't have a lot of experience or a lot of time to attend to it,
Yeah.
the bin is definitely your best route to go. One, if your ratios are off and there's any type of odor or smell, and also it keeps down any type of unwanted pests.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah.
if you mistakenly put like the wrong items or anything like that in it, so I would definitely recommend like either compost bin or tumbler. The tumblers work good just because you just crank a handle or you just spin a barrel and it actually mixes it for you. So again, for somebody that's just getting into this as a beginner, if you're kind of like touching any of like the wet or muddy soil or anything like that, if it's slightly off-putting to you still, the bin definitely helps. It takes a lot of your hands-on work off, but you still get the same end result.
And like you said, keeping the pests away, because like if not, like you might have a pest problem outside because of the compost you put in the corner. So the one that I have is covered too, but like you said, like you can get the tumbler and then, yeah.
Cause like mine, I do the same as Khadijah. I just have a corner in my backyard, I throw everything in. So like in my house, I like have a small like garbage can that I put a paper bag in. So I'll put all of my vegetable and food scraps in there, so that way we kind of have that ratio. But I also have families of raccoons, possum that are, but I don't personally mind or have any issues with that, but, you know, for somebody that would, that a bin definitely would help you.
Yeah.
Best advice would probably be, compost is something that also needs water.
Yeah, yeah.
It also needs water and stuff like that, water here all night to help it break down.
So if it rains enough, then you're fine, but if it doesn't, you wanna make sure you get moist.
I was gonna add, ask yourself why you want to compost. And that's not a trick question. I'm not trying to be like, stop composting. It's really asking yourself because if you're a small, like, home gardener, which is kind of like how I practice right now, you wanna be careful of quantities and making sure you're able to manage it. So like, I think a big piece is being able to manage it. It's a lot of work. It's not like, I'm gonna throw my scraps and like, do magic. So like, just really asking yourself, like, how do you want to do it? Why do you want to do it? What's your scale before you even also start like going down the rabbit hole of understanding ratios and measurements and how all that works. And I would also add like, look up local organizations, like look up your Vermont and your sister, like there's organizations in Bridgeport that does composting, learn about it. Yeah, to really learn and understand it. And make sure it's gonna work and the scale for you and you have the space for it, because composting is beautiful, it's wonderful, we waste too much, but like you don't wanna get in over your head and now you have this big thing. So I hope that also helps too, like just figure out where you wanna go with it and your scale first too.
Thank you.
I have a question, like, you know, summer's gonna be coming, right, and I have a mosquito issue, right? So I'm thinking, like, I wanna call up one of these mosquito squad people or something like that to come and spray my yard, cause the kids get torn up, I get torn up, whatever. And I'm like, you know, this concept of even like, you know, farming has been something like, oh, I wanna try, but now after this, I really wanna try, right? So, what can I do, is there really like a natural way of mosquitoes, like getting rid of them and still having the soil good so that I'm not messing up my crop for the kids, or like, forget it, just deal with it? Yeah, thank you.
One of the things that we use, but we're gonna be expanding more, is it's called mosquito plant, that's the nickname of it, but it's citronella. Anybody know what citronella is?
Yeah.
It gives off a certain scent that repels them. And that's what they put in, these repellents and sometimes unnatural things, but that's what we use. So herbs and flowers and things like that, or plants. Yep. Secrete certain types of pheromones and hormones that propel these things from staying away. You know, you can also contact us. We have certain herbs and oils that we use also too when we farm to repel mosquitoes and things like that. We can talk that on the side. Too much time on that, but yeah, there's different ways that you can manage things. It's not 100% guaranteed now, but it will reduce the mosquito infestation. Also, too, very important, folks, do not leave any open water container. That's the problem too. You know, in
Yeah.
rains, you have something that's, you know, a container or bucket, get rid of that water.
Yeah.
That's how they infestate and they come and they do all their deeds.
I got a pool, so.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm gonna say, whatever company you're going to
Yeah.
for that, they usually sometimes have an organic way of going about it. Sometimes it's the same thing, things like that. Get rid of it.
Because you don't wanna use anything that's not, beneficial to your health and stuff,
Right,
so.
right.
And then that's bad for the kids too as well, so any of those, yeah, no.
Yeah, because some of them, they say organic, they'll use organic stuff or whatever, but it's like, I don't know if it's really true. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, organic.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Period.
So now it comes to the end of the yellow questions. Thank you everyone for making it here. Thank you for our people for answering all the questions. And hope you have a good day.
Thank you again, everybody, for attending our first Let's Get Growing Bridgeport event. We hope that you'll join us in the future for next year's event as well. Thank you to our panelists, our farmers, our sustainers of life here in this part of the state. I have a couple of requests from you. One is that we do have a evaluation, if you could fill that out and return it to the table for us. The second request is, I need a chair parade, and, because all these chairs have to go back to where they came from, or else I'll get into a lot of trouble. So, if those folks who are in rolly chairs, if you could follow me, and as you exit where you came in, everybody, there's a little going away to get growing present for you, a small greenhouse and a little bag of soil to start your seeds. Thank you again for being here today.
Shut up, Jackie, for organizing the event, like.